Shout out our sponsors, GW Competitions. They run regular draws for you to win different prizes, from cash to Rolexes to cars and all sorts. It's all legit, and the draws are run on Facebook Live and Instagram Live, and you got to be in it to win it. Good luck. Welcome everyone to another episode of Big Ego Media Podcast. We've got a special guest today, going by the name of Ruby Haze. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad. So Ruby Haze, is that a stage name or is that your actual name?
Ruby's my actual name, but Ruby Haze is kind of a, yeah.
Where's the Haze come from?
It's a bit of a techie one, but yeah, it's yeah.
Okay, it's a techie one. So where are you from? Where did you grow up?
I grew up all over the place. I didn't really grow up in a fixed area.
Okay.
Settled down in North London now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your family background?
My mum's Irish. My dad's Asian.
Okay. So growing up, did you live in a household with both parents, or was it separate?
So I grew up with my mum and her partner, who I call dad normally. They broke up when I was about 11.
Okay.
Ended up moving back in with my dad when I was about 15, 16.
Yeah.
But yeah, predominantly it was just my mum. They were kind of on off all the time.
Okay. And you got other siblings?
Yeah, I've got 3 other siblings from my biological dad and 1 half-sister, stepsister, whichever it's called, from my stepdad/dad.
So in terms of growing up, school days, what was your dreams, aspirations? What did you want to be? Sorry. what did you want to be?
I don't feel like I really had a proper sort of ambition or dream when I was younger, to be fair. I think I was just kind of focused on surviving.
Surviving?
Yeah, I didn't really...
Even at a young age, when you're 6, 7, people say you want to be a singer, actress, policewoman, whatever you didn't?
Oh, definitely not that. No, I don't really remember. I think as well, a lot of my childhood is quite blurry, so maybe I did, but I don't
Why do you think it's blurry? Because you're moving around so much?
That, and also I grew up around a lot of addiction, quite a lot of abuse. So I think a lot of it I just blocked out.
Yeah. In terms of drug abuse and alcohol abuse?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, what would you say was your motivation then at a young age? Did you have any?
I think I was just very focused on not ending up like the people around me.
Yeah.
That was probably my main motivation. It still is, to be fair.
Yeah.
And then obviously once I had children, I had my first child at like 19. So
okay.
to just sort of be as good as I could for them, basically.
I mean, you've taken part in a recent documentary on MTV about domestic abuse and so on. So, but before we get there, you said you had your first child at 19. Mm-hmm. How many children do you have now?
I've got 2.
You've got 2, and that's with the same partner?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, how did you meet this partner?
We semi-met like online / mutual friends. It's kind of one of those ones where we'd seen each other about, but there wasn't a sort of actual conversation.
Yeah.
And then we ended up together quite quickly.
Okay, so just through online and messaging and and was it a sort of love at first sight when you finally got together? Did you?
I think I probably would have said yeah at the time. Obviously, looking back now, I think a lot of it was like this whole sort of love bombing thing.
Yeah.
Very intense, very quickly. Sort of like, oh my God, he's my world. After like a month, and then it was like, oh shit, what the fuck's going on? Yeah.
So was it literally after a month you thought, what's going on?
I wouldn't say what's going on as in a negative way at that point, but sort of obviously I was quite young. He was a good few years older than me, so it's kind of like, I'm in a very serious relationship. Yeah. I wasn't prepared for this. Yeah. But I was happy at that time. So I
mean, look about that. Do you kind of think you missed out on your, I mean, not youth, I guess you're 19, but do you think you missed out on your time in life to sort of make something out yourself, like go to uni as people do?
I still went to uni.
Oh, you still went to uni? Yeah.
I still went to uni. I tried sort of, after I had my children, I was kind of like, okay, I want and even whilst I was with my children's dad, I wanted to sort of go down the more sort of 9 to 5 legit route, get a career, and sort of come away from the whole survival side of life. Yeah. Went to uni, didn't actually finish in the end. I dropped out just before the end of my last year. But yeah, I still tried to sort of follow the normal sort of life as much as I could, yeah.
I mean, domestic abuse, I guess, is something that lots of women go through, and now they're starting to speak out about it more. I guess in earlier times, women were just sort of told to accept it, and then, but in terms of like, do you know the turning points? I mean, before it was actually violent, do you kind of remember the first sort of arguments, and were there any sort of red flags at the time?
Do you know what? I feel like we didn't really argue too much, and when we started arguing, it kind of almost went violent straight away.
Okay.
It was small violence, but it was still, there wasn't really a build-up too much sort of emotional abuse or whatever you want to call it. It just kind of went from 0 to 100.
I mean, if you can, I know it could be hard for you here, but if you can kind of remember that first sort of incident, that what kind of led to that argument, and did you expect that violence? And what you said is minimal violence, but what was it as well?
So I had just had my son, and I can't remember if my ex was going through my phone or whether he was doing something on my phone. I can't remember the ins and outs of that bit, but he found a message from, I think, like a year before I'd met him, of an old male friend, never been a partner, never been anything, nothing had ever happened with me and him. I think we'd gone for a drive, I think we'd gone to smoke. And he literally sent me a message saying, I'm driving there now, I'm on the way now, or something innocent. And that was, he flew off the handle like that. And it was kind of like, well, one, I didn't even know you then. Two, we definitely weren't together, even if I did know you. And three, it's just a message saying, I'm cool, I'm coming now. A year prior, sorry, like about 2 years prior at that point, so about a year prior before I'd met him. And I just remember him, he picked up my phone, threw it at the wall, phone into a million pieces, dent in the wall. I was feeding my son at the time. My son was he was weeks, possibly even days old, probably about maybe 2 weeks old at the most. And he threw my phone, he came up, punched me on the side of the head, and I just remember picking up the full bottle of milk and just dashing it back at him. So
you kind of didn't just accept it, you returned?
Yeah, that was, I mean, I'd had sort of a small abusive relationship prior to that when I was a bit younger, and that was he wasn't allowed to just put his hands on me and get away with it, so I certainly wasn't going to do it this time. But obviously I had a child in the situation now, so it's a bit different.
I mean, after that, and he's hit you the side of the head, do you go to sleep at that night? Do you guys make up? How does things work?
I think we made up. I can't really remember. Again, I block a lot of stuff out, and then it's only like, for example, I'll have a conversation like this, and then maybe like a couple of days later, I'll be like, oh my God, wait, no, actually it happened like this, or da-da-da-da-da. So I try not to sort of guess the details, but I'm pretty sure we kind of just went to bed and
I mean, for yourself at that point though, this man has never hit you, and all of a sudden now you've been hit, and you've kind of forgiven and moved on so quickly. Was it a thing that where you didn't quite understand what had just happened at the time?
Yeah, I don't think it had processed, I don't think it had processed in my head. And obviously I just had a child, so I was sort of I was tired, I was still sort of in shock. I had a really traumatic birth, so it was like, I just think I was just like...
Did you normalise it a little bit, like, oh, okay, this happens kind of thing, because I've had something a little bit similar before?
I wouldn't say normalise it as in, okay, well, this is just what to expect, but I think I probably did the whole, realistically, it's not going to happen again. Like, we're both just stressed out. That kind of sort of excusing of it. But I wouldn't say I normalised it. And
then how soon before it happened again?
I think it was within the next 4 to 5 weeks.
Okay, that soon?
Yeah. Well, for me, I feel like that's quite far.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that was quite soon. Yeah.
And again, similar things?
Yeah, similar things. So it would always be like, either like grips in me or like a punch here or a slap there, or it wasn't sort of too violent. It wasn't sort of too, like, I don't know how to explain it.
Over
like,
what?
Considering how some of the attacks went, I feel like they were, I almost don't class them as violence. I know that sounds fucked, but it's like, because it got so extreme towards the end, to me, looking back, it's like, if they were all like that, probably wouldn't be quite as traumatized.
But what would it be over? Like, what would lead him to grip you up or give you a little slap, if you want to call it a little slap? Like,
there wasn't really any particular triggers, to be fair.
Was there jealousy involved? Controlling
there was
behaviour?
A lot of jealousy, a lot of possessiveness. On both sides. I'm not going to sit here and say that there wasn't. It was just all him.
Did you ever instigate anything and hit him first?
I don't know if I ever hit him first. I definitely used to, when we would argue, I'd be very much in his face.
Yeah.
So obviously that's still not an excuse, but looking at the type of person he is and the type of person I am, like, I can see why that could have got him to that point. Obviously, he should have had the control to sort of say, do you know what, I'm walking away from the situation. But yeah, it was definitely an antagonising
I'm going to say, under any circumstances, they say 100% don't hit a woman under any circumstances. But what I'm trying to hear from you, are you trying to say that you feel that you antagonise him to do that? And is that kind of giving him an excuse? Because I think as much as someone antagonises you, you shouldn't do it at all.
It's definitely not giving him I can't even talk today. It's not giving him an excuse, 100%, definitely not. But I'm not going to sit here and say that I wasn't toxic as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, I would hit back. I wouldn't necessarily hit him first. I would definitely hit back at the start. Sort of the first good few times that he ever put his hands on me, I would definitely fight back. But yeah, it was kind of, I think, like the mental side of it then, like the jealousy and the possessiveness and things like that. And that was definitely 50-50 at that point. I can't say that was all him.
Yeah. And I guess seeing some of the images that I posted last time, your face was pretty bruised up. I mean, what then led to that moment and how soon after? Because then you had another child with him.
No, I had a child with him before that.
Okay.
So my son was 5 weeks old, I think, when I fell pregnant with my daughter.
Yeah. So no, I was saying that before that kind of happened, I'm saying that you've had another child, right?
Oh yeah, before those
images,
those images, we'd had another child by then. We'd have my daughter.
And was it a thing that where it was a plan to have another child?
No.
I was just trying to say that, because I guess people never quite understand it. People look from the outside, people are like, well, you're in this abusive relation, you had a child already, why have you stayed with this person? I mean, what's emotionally, for someone that's involved in that, what makes you stay with someone despite all those things that's happening?
I think a lot of it was sort of fear to leave.
Yeah.
I think, it was sort of, if I leave, what happens now? Because we've got a child together.
Yeah.
Like, I can't, it's not like a normal situation where you can break up with someone and then block them and never talk to them again. Ironically, we don't speak, but obviously at that time it wasn't in my head like, okay, cool, I can just get up and walk away because I'm tied to you for life. Like, we've got a child together. So I think it was a mixture of fear, it was a mixture of loyalty as well. I come from a sort of, I don't know if you'd call it a community, but again, it's that whole, you just stand by your partner no matter what they do sort of thing. And it probably looks very stupid to a lot of people because, like, you can be cheated on 1,000,000 times or hit 1,000,000 times and in your head you're like, oh, but that's my man. That's my man, I can't leave my man. If I leave him, I'm just going to look like I'm unloyal and all of that crap. So yeah, it was just a combination, to be honest. And I think as well, because I had grown up seeing my mum and my dad argue, not him ever putting his hands on her, but again, like even some of the way he would speak to her and vice versa. And I always watched them get back together. So for me, it was like, this is my person. I'm going to stay with my person regardless of what happens.
So then, see, you've had the second child. How many years apart are the children?
So they're 11 months apart.
11 months apart, so it's pretty soon you got pregnant again. So I guess you didn't even have time to kind of process that.
Yeah, I didn't want another child.
Yeah.
I didn't want another child. It wasn't it wasn't a very consensual situation. It was one of those like, what, you're on the pill? Why are you on the pill? No, I'm taking that, I'm putting that in the bin. It was kind of one of those situations, so yeah.
Wait, so, I mean, that's what I'm saying, we're in a world now where consent is kind of blurred in regards to what is and what isn't. We saw the other day, I think in California, they've now said removing a condom is considered rape.
Yeah, I think they call it stealthing or something over here.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's called, yeah.
So I mean, with something like that where he's told you why you got the pill and he's thrown it away, did you feel powerless at the time to try and go and get more pills? And
for me, it was like, okay, well, there's no point in me even trying. And I think as well, because the ever, so reliable method of not using anything had sort of been a bit, it worked before. I just kind of thought, realistically, I've just had a child. Am I really going to get pregnant again? I don't know. And in my head as well, obviously, because I just had my son, it was like, I'm not even interested in sleeping with you right now, to be honest. So for me, the risk was minimum, and obviously it just unfortunately happened anyway, where I didn't really have a choice. But yeah.
I mean, when you found out you was pregnant, what was the actual feeling at the time?
I was terrified. I was terrified because to me it was like, why the fuck am I going to bring another child into this situation? Like, I can just about look after myself and my only child now. Why am I going to... Like, yeah, it was mad.
What was his reaction to the pregnancy?
I feel like he was quite happy. I feel like he was quite happy. I don't really remember us arguing about the decision. I know at one point I said quite openly to him, I don't want to have this baby. Didn't go down great. Yeah, but he was a lot sort of happier than I was. And I think I couldn't really like, I suppose that when you find out you're pregnant normally, it's like you start to instantly bond with that baby inside you. I couldn't do that with my daughter when she was in me. It was, there was too much going on. And in my head as well, it was like, I think I hated him so much at this point. I almost hated being pregnant again. It was,
And so what, I guess, then led to the images that we saw where, that's two different images, right?
Oh no, that was the same incident. That was kind of just two different stages.
Of recovery.
Yeah. So one was, I think one I had just wiped makeup off as well, so it looked a little bit less angry. But yeah.
I mean, what led to that? Because that's pretty, that's like a big old fight basically.
Yeah. So we had gone out, I remember we'd gone to Ealing Broadway. I'd gone into the bank, I'd left my phone in the car because he was playing music through the aux or whatever it's called. I got back to the car and I could tell that something wasn't right with him. He seems very just, I wouldn't even say agitated, but you know when someone, you're pissed off but you don't want to say anything, you're waiting until you're out of a public place, and his knee was like bouncing and shaking and I just thought, like, what the fuck now? And obviously, like I said, I'd left my phone in the car. One, I wasn't doing anything behind his back anyway. Two, I was completely isolated from my friends and family at that point. So there was literally, I had no issue leaving my phone around him because there wasn't anything for him to find. We got back home. I remember literally, I think, my daughter was only a couple of months old at that point. She was born September 2016. This was the start of 2017. And he literally, I just remember he went and got a can of drink from the kitchen. I was sitting on the sofa and he came in and he just threw it straight at my head, bounced off my forehead.
Without saying anything?
Yeah, literally, like that was the first thing to sort of initiate the whole situation. I got dragged through the house, punched, kicks, you name it. And his justification for it was, oh, I saw a message on your phone, I know you used to be a prostitute. And I was just like, what? Yeah, because in my head I'm thinking, he's going to tell me I've cheated, or he's going to tell me I've looked at someone else, or something normal to be arguing about in that type of relationship. But no, apparently I was a prostitute.
I mean, what?
So I was just in shock. I was just like, you're beating me up because you think that I was or I am a prostitute. Where, like, what the fuck? Where have you got this from?
I know that. I mean, who just comes out the blue, something like that, randomly?
Yeah, I don't know.
So I mean, then.
To this day, he still stands by it. He's like, I saw a message, and I even said to him subsequently after, like, even when we were on good terms since, like, even up to like 2 years ago, I've said, genuinely, like, where did you get that from? Like, where is the message as well? He said to me multiple times, this is after I'd left him, he was like, don't make me expose the messages. I was like, expose them then, because in my head I'm thinking, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, there's nothing to expose. I was fully prepared for him to start, I don't know, making up messages or something, but yeah, he never did. So to me, I just think it was in his head.
I mean, after that, I'm assuming there's blood everywhere. Your children are seeing this.
I wasn't bleeding that much, to be fair. But I started literally, I fractured my skull. He fractured my skull.
And your two children are there.
Yeah, they were in the other room. I remember my son wouldn't come to me because my face was just swell up. So yeah, it was just, I think that was probably the hardest part, because after all of that, all I wanted to do was just hug my kids. He locked me in the house that weekend. I didn't actually think I was going to get out alive. So for me, it was like, this is my last time with my children.
I mean, he locked you in the house, and what was going on through that whole...
It was literally like 48 hours of on and off beatings.
Okay, wow.
And it got compared to in court. They compared it to, I think there was the DVS case going on at the time, where he had tortured the girl or whatever, and threatened her with an iron and all of that, and they compared it to that in court.
I mean...
They were like, it's the similar kind of motive, like you wanted to inflict pain and torture on her. And I remember he stood in court and smiled and was like, yeah.
That's what I was going to get to. I mean, before we get to court, so after the 48 hours, what have you done? I mean, I'm assuming he's got your phone at this time, not allowing you to call anyone? Or...
Yeah, he had my phone. I remember, so this started on the Thursday?
Yeah.
I think the Thursday night. I had work on Sunday. I was working with Green at the time. My manager knew kind of about the sort of dynamics of the relationship. And I just remember saying to him, if I don't go into work, like, she's going to know that something's going on. He was aware that she knew sort of about the situation anyway. And yeah, he was just like, all right, cool, I'm going to let you go into work. He was like, but I want you to FaceTime me like the whole journey. I want you to sort of let me know where you are, this place, that place, this place. Obviously, he knew my regular route to work. So it was sort of like, if I see that you're veering off that route, I'm going to come and get you. And
did you kind of put makeup on to cover everything up?
Yeah, I just remember, I don't think I've ever worn so much makeup in my life. And it didn't really, it covered the bruising, but my eyes were still puffy. And I just remember getting on the train and being looked at. But even that, I find shocking. Like, I got on the train visibly looking like I've just been attacked. And I've tried to cover it. So that screams domestic violence. And no one even, like everyone, I just remember everyone on the carriage was sort of like, oh, like, let's not look, because if we look, then we've acknowledged it. But yeah, I went to work.
I mean, when you go to work, you should look after the kids then?
Not really. Obviously, they were in nursery anyway. My mum used to help quite a lot with childcare. His parents used to help with childcare quite a lot. He wasn't really, he'd have them here and there, but he was more interested in going out with his friends, to be honest.
So really... at this point then, you made your way to work. He's telling you to FaceTime, your location, where you are and so on. At which point did you make contact with the police?
So I waited till I got to work. And I literally I remember calling my manager. She wasn't actually there that day. She'd gone on I think it was a charity run or something. And I just called her and I was like, I need you to come back. She was like, I can't. And I was like, I actually need to, I need to report it now, because if I don't, I think I'm going to go home and die. I don't think I'm going to get out of this alive. And then my main concern as well was, what happens to my kids if he kills me? What happens if they see me getting killed? So it was like, I have no choice.
Was the fear that much that you actually thought that, this guy might kill me?
And I think as well, by then, I'd started to see almost like a psychosis side to him. So it was like, I kind of thought, if he gets into that rage where he can't control the length of beating he's given me, and the strength of beating he's given me, what is he going to do to the kids? I think all my trust in, he might hurt me, but he would never hurt the kids, that went out the window at that point, because it was like, you let them in the room whilst you were doing that to me. I remember he picked up the sofa and kind of it was like a lightweight sofa bed thing, and he kind of slid it across the floor. And it bumped my son in the head. And my son started crying, and he was just kind of like, oh. And I just remember thinking, wow, you don't care at all. You've got no level of care for them.
So obviously the police have called. What's the next process? What's happened?
Yeah, so the police got called. They came out to my workplace, sent an ambulance out. My mum was living around the corner from where I was from where I was living at the time. And I just remember calling her from the back of a police car saying, Mum, he's done it again. I need you to go to the house and get the kids. Then the police called my mum to arrange how they could intercept in the house properly, because they were worried then if we just storm in, what's he going to be doing? Has he harmed the kids? Is he going to harm the kids? Is he going to take them around through the back? What's going to happen? And yeah, I don't know how they got in. I don't know whether they sort of pushed open the door or whether they knocked. I have no idea, because I wasn't there. But I just remember that my mum said that she literally saw police run through the door, grab the kids, make sure they were good, whilst other police were going to arrest him. And my mum just took the kids straight out, and they had to sit in a police car whilst they secured the house.
I mean, you said something earlier, you said to your mum, he's done it again. So your mum was kind of aware. Yeah. Was there any bit of advice she was giving you in regards to the relationship?
Not really. We didn't really have a great relationship for most of sort of my life up until really, I guess when I left him, we probably got a bit better. But yeah, I was a bit hesitant when I would tell her what had happened. There'd been a couple of occasions where I'd been in the house with her, he'd been in the house, and she would say things but she would word them in a way where it's almost like she knew it would set off an argument between me and him. If me and her had argued, or if she'd asked for money and I couldn't lend it to her, or something stupid, in her head it was like, cool, well, I'm going to get you in trouble now. So yeah, when I used to tell her, to be honest, she was just kind of like, oh, okay. And then obviously it was like, well, as long as the kids are safe. And it was like, okay, but I'm still your daughter. But yeah, it was a bit of a tricky one still.
So he ended up obviously getting arrested. Because it's gone to court. Did he plead guilty, not guilty?
He pled guilty. I can't remember if it was to all of it or to some of it, but he pled guilty to sort of the more serious ones that he couldn't get out of, I guess. And yeah, he got remanded that time.
And how long was he given?
I feel like he was only given about 6 months, maybe just a bit over.
Okay.
But then he got gate arrested during that sentence. So at the end of that sentence, he got gate arrested for breaking the restraining order. I think it was 36 times whilst he was in prison.
I was trying to contact you.
Yeah, I was getting letters like every other day. One letter would be like, I'm so sorry, I love you so much. Like, I never wanted to do this to you, I want my family back. The next letter would be like, when I come out, I'm going to come find you and I'm going to kill you.
Wow.
Like, you've put me in jail. And then the next day would be, I love you so much. And it would just be like, okay.
I mean, how was you feeling emotionally at the time? Did you still love him? Or...
Yeah, of course. I mean, we'd been together like 3-4 years, so it wasn't like a short-term thing. And obviously we had children as well. So in my head, it was like, he's going to come out of jail. Hopefully he would have changed and we'll get back together.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, to be honest, I regretted even going through with the court process at that point as well.
Yeah.
But that was just me still under his illusion.
I mean, so once he was kind of finally out, did he make contact? What was the process?
So when he was due out, obviously he got gate arrested for the breaches of restraining order. I think he got given another 5 weeks or something stupid for that. Yeah. Each breach is meant to carry up to 5 years.
Okay.
He didn't even get a day per breach.
Yeah.
So it was yeah. When he came out, I remember I had it was either ITV or Channel 4. I was doing some domestic violence work with them. They were actually in my house filming, along with one of the girls I used to work with from Youth Domestic Violence Charity. And I just remember my social worker at the time banging down my door. I'd put a sign up in my door earlier that day as well. I was expecting a parcel, wasn't expecting to be in, so I said, leave it on the front porch, whatever. My social worker saw that, panicked, thought, oh my God, he's come out of jail, he's gone straight to the house, and she's going to be in there dead. Eventually, I opened the door, and she just said, pack your stuff up, you've got to leave now. And I was like, why? And she said, he's been released, and he's already told, like, he told the officer, whoever was on the gate when he left, he was like, I'm going to find my baby mum. So she was like, you need to leave now. Okay.
And how long ago was this now?
This was the end of 2017 now.
2017.
Like November 2017, and I got put in a refuge.
Okay, so I mean, kind of put in a refuge, how does that make you feel at the time? If you got kids, did you want to leave the house? Was you scared as well? Was you fearful?
I don't know if I can't even say I was scared at that point. I think I just kind of went into fight or flight. But I wanted to leave because obviously I wanted my kids to be safe. I almost wanted to stay because I wanted to face it out with him. But I was still looking to move anyway because the memories in that house, like I was just a mess, like I wasn't sleeping and things like that. Someone had tried to break in as well during the time that he was in jail. I don't know if it was connected with him or not. But yeah, there was just too much going on in that house. So in a way, I kind of looked at it as like, okay, cool, it's a fresh start. But yeah, it was mixed emotions.
I mean, now you said your kids are now 6 and 5 years old. Has he been in touch at all for this period? How does it work? Is he completely out of their lives?
Obviously, that was the end of 2017. When I moved to the refuge, which is when I moved to Islington, he breached the restraining order again. My social worker was like, you need to report it. If you don't, we're going to look at you like you're not taking it seriously, and then obviously you're not prioritising the safety of your kids, which is obviously difficult to hear when you've grown up in a don't call police community. So I was still sort of facing my own little battle against that. Subsequently ended up reporting it. They bailed him to Highbury Corner Magistrates Court. So again, that was like, so that was like, he thinks I'm still in a completely different borough. Like, why have you done that? They were talking then about moving us out of the whole city. So it was just like, at that point, I think I was just more angry because it was just like, I felt like I was just being failed by the whole system. Like, why have I got social services breathing down my neck? But he's in there living a comfy life, still being able to breach restraining orders, etc., and not getting any repercussions. And even when he came out, you're rehousing him in a nice little cushy place. He's getting help financially. He's getting this career opportunity and that career opportunity and this. He's basically being looked after, and I'm just being dragged from pillar to post with 2 young children. It was just like, what the fuck is going on? But yeah, once they bailed him to my area, that caused a whole nother load of bullshit. And then very stupidly, after about maybe 2-3 months, he contacted me again, expressed this big apology, and I fell for it. And I was like, okay.
Well, I mean, what made you fall for it at that time?
I still loved him.
Yeah.
That was still quite early. Like, we'd only been broken up about 6 months at that point. So yeah, I think it was just like, surely he's changed. Like.
And did you take him back?
Not immediately. We started conversating here and there, and then I was still in contact with his mum. She was still seeing the kids, and yeah, so it was kind of, I think he sort of used that path to like worm his way back in. And then yeah, that went on for a little while, and then he attacked me again in front of the kids. And that was when I was like, this is just never going to change.
What was it over this time? And not that day, it matters to be fair. But.
So I had stayed with him at the place where he was living. He was living with his best friend at the time. I think, it sounds a bit graphic, but I think I was on my period at the time and he wanted to sleep together. And obviously I was like, it's not the right time. That then set him off on so you must be sleeping with someone else. Who are you sleeping with? Who have you been meeting up with when we weren't together, etc, etc, etc. He went on my Instagram, saw a man like my picture. He said, who's this? How do you know this guy? That's so-and-so's ex. And I was like, I went on a date with him. It's like, date didn't go anywhere, didn't link up after that, didn't go back together. We went and got food and that was it. I realised I wasn't ready to date. End of that situation. He wasn't trying to hear it. He was like, oh, that must be who you're sleeping with. That's why you don't want to sleep with me. And I was just like, all right, cool, whatever, I'm leaving. Got up, got dressed, went to leave. He tried to drag me back in the room. His friend got in between us. His friend's like 6 foot, whatever, big 20 stone, like hench guy. So he kind of literally physically let me get out the house. I flew back to his mum's, went to pick up the kids. And yeah, he followed me back to the house, broke in through her front door. His sister was in the house. She took my daughter and ran upstairs. My son was on the sofa next to me. And yeah, we just started going at it.
In front of his mum and at this time?
No, his mum wasn't there. His mum she'd popped out, I think, to the shops or something, so his sister was the only one at home who was with the kids. But yeah, she kind of just went into panic. And it's mad because when me and him were together and she would know what was going on, she was sort of like, oh, he could never do that in front of me. If he did that in front of me, I'd be the first person to do this and do that and do this. But it's like, I can't even blame her because as soon as she saw it, she just panicked and ran. I didn't expect her to defend me. It's not her business to defend me anyway. But it was kind of like, okay, so now do you understand that I'm not exaggerating how mad your brother is? Like, it's not me sort of, do you know what I mean? And
at this point, would they have put him back in jail again? Or, because at this point you've kind of
I think
removed the restraint. I was going to say, does restraining orders kind of go because you've allowed the contact again? How does it work?
It was a bit techie. So when that went to court, that incident there, the judge basically said, obviously I can understand why you went back to him. It's the whole pattern of abuse sort of thing. Like, you know, you're still very much mentally there. It's easy for them to manipulate you and sort of worm their way back in. He was like, but if you're found to have let him break the restraining order and not reported it the next time, we're not going to be sympathetic for you, basically. Which I still think is mad, because how is it my fault and why am I being held responsible for him breaking the restraining order? And he's broken it subsequently since, and I haven't even bothered to report it because it's like, I'm tired of court. I'm tired of nothing gets done. So why am I going to keep going back there? And I think in his head he's probably thinking, oh, she must still have something there for me because she hasn't reported it. And I'm just like, I just can't be bothered.
And I mean, for now then, I guess we in a situation where we get a lot of young men and young women who grown up, especially in London, without their father around, and obviously in a situation where you've had this domestic violence. Going forward now, how does it kind of work for you in regards to your kids? Because do you want their father in their lives, or are you too fearful, or do you think, I mean, what about the question, do the kids ever ask about their father?
They don't ask about him directly. Like, my son makes some comments here and there, like he said to his godmum one time, she came over for dinner and he was just like, oh, like, auntie, like, we don't have a dad. And it was just like, wow, you're really starting to understand that you don't have a dad around you. But at the same time, I think because they're around me or my mum 24/7. So they don't really get time to feel like they're not surrounded by family. I've still got quite a few male friends who I consider like family, who I've known for 5+ years, who, you know, if they come to sort of like see me, they'll always come in and make a little 5-10 minutes for the kids at least, sort of thing. And ideally it would be great to have their dad in their life, but it's not even a fearful thing anymore, because and I made it clear to him the last time he reached out to me that if you come near me again, I will kill you, and I will happily go and do the jail time for it. That doesn't bother me at all, because you're not about to run the rest of my life in fear. But
I guess as they get older, do you think they're going to start wanting to reach out to, I mean, how do you feel then if, let's say, they're 14, 15, and say, look, we want to contact our dad?
I don't know if they'll want to reach out. I don't know. Yeah, obviously that's going to be, I won't be able to sort of prejudge that. But me personally, I think as well, because everything ended up being documented by police, court, social services, etc., and I've still got all of those bits of paperwork. For me, I don't even really, it's not one of those, your mum's just saying that because she doesn't like me, or because I did this, or because I did that. And it's like, I feel like when the time is right, whether it's when they're 16, 18, 21, 30, however old, I will happily sit there and let them read for everything. Again, like the parts that make it clear that I wasn't perfect, I'll be very open about that. But I haven't really, it's kind of, I'll worry about that when I get to it. I try not to think about that too much, because I think it just causes me too much stress, to be honest. But I'm open to the fact that they're going to be, we want to make our own minds up.
I mean, I guess,
and I'm going to have to let them ultimately, depending on how old they are.
Yeah.
So
I guess on the positive side of everything, I see that you're making music.
Yes.
How long has that been a passion of yours?
Not necessarily the making side of it, but I think music's always been a big crutch. It's always, I was sort of that kid that when shit was going on at home, I would lock myself in the room and put my headphones in. And even like through things like battles with mental health and stuff, like music has always been something that's kind of, been a crutch, I guess. So,
and when did you pick up pen and pad?
Like 2017, 2018. One of the two, yeah.
I mean, what was the thinking behind that? Was it saying that, actually, I'm going to try this and I feel I'm good? Did you ever practice before?
So the first thing I actually ever wrote is the Letter to My Ex freestyle that I let out at the start of the year. The official video is coming out tomorrow. But yeah, so that was the first thing I ever wrote. And for me, it was kind of like, okay, I've gone to counselling, I've gone to all of these types of therapy, nothing's really working. Maybe I should just try and write. And I wrote, it was more like, I felt like I was journaling rather than writing a track or whatever. I find it quite therapeutic. Obviously didn't do anything with it for a couple of years. And then when I started, so one of my big bros has a studio up in Tottenham. Went there just to see him one day, and we started messing around in the booth. And he kind of looked at me and I looked at him, and we went kind of like, oh, this is all right actually. Like this could sort of get developed into something that works. And just sort of took it from there.
Was there anyone you took inspiration from at the time? Like which rappers would you kind of listen to at the time?
I wouldn't say took inspiration from that made me want to do it. There's definitely artists that I do find more inspiring than others. But I wouldn't say anyone particularly inspired me to do it myself, if that makes sense.
I guess in cars, I think I see something the other day, I've not watched the full episode yet. They're talking about, I think, the best female rappers or lyricists, and they're talking about, I think there's a conversation about Miss Sims and we're going to have a Lady Leisha or Shabo. I mean, who is your favourite female artist in the UK?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I feel like I have different favourites for different things. I don't really feel like I can pick one, because I feel like the female artists in the UK are very strong in different departments. I feel like it's hard to pick an all-rounder than it would be to say in the male UK rap industry. And I think growing up as well, like it was kind of like the Baby Blue era, like Nole, that kind of time. Who I think they were kids, but I wouldn't really say, that's. Do you know what I mean? It's I think To
regard to your own sort of sound and style, what would you describe it?
I'd say I'm versatile. I probably just contradicted myself by saying it's not a good all-rounder, but I guess I'm trying to fill that void.
You sing as well?
Yeah.
And I guess coming from, the Asian and white background, do you ever get kind of the criticism that people try to throw, oh, she's doing rap, or she looks a certain way, and how does that affect you?
I've had a couple of comments. I just brush them off, to be honest. I think because I'm not, and I'm so aware of certain things that things like, you know, rap culture, of course it comes from a certain culture itself. Like, it's not really a white British or even an Asian thing. Do you know what I mean? So I think, again, it's as long as you can do it in an appropriate way and pay homage to where it came from, why shouldn't I express myself the way that it works for me?
You say you got a song coming out, a video coming out tomorrow. Any other thing we can sort of look for in the pipeline?
Yeah, so I've got a tape coming soon. That should hopefully be dropping within the next month. I've actually got a freestyle video dropping tonight as well, with Official Shops Got Bars. And I think, yeah, there's another 2 freestyle videos dropping soon. One called Bars on Lock, that was up in Liverpool, and another called Cloud Sessions. Any
collabs we can look forward to?
Yeah, so I've just finished a tape. I managed to force Scorch to give me a verse for that. Couple collabs coming hopefully on the next project. I didn't really want to focus too many on the first project. I wanted to be quiet.
You have a name for the project?
By any means. By any means. Yeah.
I like that.
So yeah.
And the MTV, people watch that online now, the domestic abuse documentary?
So that's on, I think it's the MTV Player or MTV Play, I'm not sure what it's called. But yeah, that should be available now. Well, it is available now, I know that.
Ruby, thank you for coming to share your story. It's one that more people need to highlight and talk about. So yeah, we give you credit for that. Appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me.